Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. This is the first podcast for counselors that just don't align with the traditional approaches to business and that want to use their spiritual gifts, talents, and interests to create, you guessed it, a private practice with soul. So, look, leave it to me to provide you with everything you need, including strategies that you can use to increase your income, reduce your workload, and of course, increase inquiries and referrals to your beautiful soul-led private practice. I love it so much. If you haven't done it already, grab your journal, grab your pen, and let's begin. But he's just jumped up, so if you can hear knocking around, it's just him. I'll move the microphone away a little bit. So there you go, good boy. So I went and I poured my heart and soul into a post, talking about what had been happening and what was working and what wasn't working. And it was so lovely because so many people understood, had empathy, had experienced similar things, and they had loads and loads of advice. And so what ended up happening was, long story short, yesterday, no accidents inside. I know, it's a miracle. And today, touch wood, it's 12 o'clock now, it's lunchtime now, still no accidents inside. And something else unrelated, but kind of related. The other day I went to a dog park. I took him there for the very first time. All the other dogs were off lead. And he was on a lead for two reasons. Number one, he hasn't started training yet, so he's got no recall. And I was so scared that he wouldn't come back and that I'd be trying to chase him around the park for how many hours trying to catch him, This is what, like, worst case scenario. And that's a horrible thought. I don't want that for either Buddy or myself. And then the second reason was I don't know the other dogs. So I was nervous and I don't know how Buddy's going to go around other dogs either. But we had a lovely time. There were lots of lovely people there and lots of lovely dogs there. And that was on the weekend. And so yesterday we thought, I might go down again. So yesterday afternoon we went down there and it was so much fun. And there were some lovely ladies there and they were saying, hey, you know what? You should just let Buddy off the lead. And I was saying, no, this is my concern, Buddy. This is my concern. Okay, I'm back. He's finished. So yeah, they're all the things that we think you've got to do, but actually there's, steps that come first. And when you don't know what those steps are, that's when you do things like you make the logo, get the name, start building a website and everything, and it just doesn't work and you're wondering why, and then you feel worse and you get locked in this loop. This person was saying imposter syndrome, but it can also become like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm no good at this. I'm never going to get my business going. I wasn't cut out for this. All that kind of self-talk then feels like it's manifesting into your reality. And in fact, it can, can't it? So what I want to share with you today is, the few steps that come before you make your business name, before you make your logo, and before you design your website. And that is, first of all, you need to understand your client. It's so true. You might think you know your client. You might say to me, oh yes, my client is a woman who is anxious. Well, that's so many women. And when you're that general and you're that broad, you might feel like casting a wide net is going to help you fill your diary. But the reality is it's actually the opposite. The more specific a niche you have, the more quickly you fill your diary. And so the quicker you actually have, in inverted commas, a successful private practice. And so that's what I really want for you. I want you to have that successful private practice. So it begins with understanding the person that you want to work with in as much detail as possible. Really think about them as a person though, not as an avatar. So, don't think, oh, she's got to be 35 to 45 and, have this many children and this level of education. You don't have to do all of that. Think about her as a real person, okay? Think about who she is, what she values, how she is in the world, her personality. Is she someone you would love to sit down and talk with? Is she someone you'd love to be a friend with? Is she someone that you really gel with, and why? And what do you have in common with her? Think about those kinds of things. And it's going to be understanding your client in that way, from that perspective, that will unlock new insights for you, that's actually going to result in you being able to write amazing copy and content for your website, which will then attract her to book a session with you, which means you won't have to do things like run Facebook ads or Google ads or push or sell or do all of that stuff that you don't like doing. So really spend some time thinking about who she is. Now, the easiest way to do this, of course, is to, use contemplation. So you might want to go for a walk somewhere, maybe along the beach or in the bush or at the park, or you might want to sit down with a coffee or something and just think about her. Really imagine her. And if you can't think of her, maybe think of someone who is like her or resembles her, from a book that you've read, from a story from a Netflix show that you watch, something like that. Really find somebody else out there that's similar that you can use as a starting point to build out, your perspective on who this person really is, and what she wants the most, what she's not getting the most, what she needs the most, what's on her heart, the things that are getting in her way, like why she can't have them at the moment. The greater the understanding of her, like this client of yours has to be like a best friend in your mind. It's probably the easiest way that I can describe it. They have to be in your mind like a bestie. You have to know them on that level. Okay, not the surface level of occupation, demographic. No, forget that. Think about her as a bestie. When you can do that, then you're better placed to be able to do the next step, which is we call it a compelling message, but speak to her, in one sentence, maybe two. Tell her what you want her to know. If she were your bestie, do I say if she were your bestie or if she was your bestie? I know that's going to bug me now because I'm really big on grammar. If she were your bestie and she was having these difficulties and she was having these challenges, and you knew what she really wanted and you knew what was getting in the way of that for her, what would you want to tell her? You're going to put your arm around her and you're going to pull her close. And what are you going to say? And that is your message, right? Your message is not, I offer a safe space and non-judgment. And that's not your message. That's boring. It's on everybody's website. It's white noise. Your clients don't care. They expect that you're going to provide a safe space that's, judgment-free. So it's redundant. You don't need to do it. It's more powerful, and you will connect better with your client if you give them a message that's just for them. So if you're thinking about, like, for me, you would be my ideal client. And if you were my bestie and I knew that you were struggling with getting the business off the ground, and I saw that you were doing things sort of in a higgledy-piggledy way, not the step-by-step process that would make it so much easier, I'd probably, put my arm around you if I was someone who did stuff like that, which I'm not, but that's okay. Metaphorically, let's say we're sitting side by side. I'm going to pull my arm around you. I'm going to pull you close, and I'm going to say, hey, you're doing great. You didn't know that there were other steps. Okay, you're doing the best with what you've got. But the issue is there are things here that you just don't know what you don't know. But it's all right, because I do know those things, and you've got me, and I'm going to help you with them. That's the message that I would give to you. And isn't that more powerful than me putting on my website? I help all of the people with all of the things for all of the ages in all of the locations. Do you know what I mean? And when we work together, it's going to be safe and you won't be judged. I mean, okay, those things are true, but they're not unique to you, are they? you as my client. So this is what we want your client to feel. So think about your client, maybe if your client is someone like, and I'm just pulling these out of the air now, right? I'm just making this up. Maybe your client is somebody who's dealing with trauma. Okay. Now, I don't know, trauma is such a big niche, right? Such a big, and there are so many. It's not enough to say you're a trauma counselor. You have to say what type of trauma. Is it road trauma? Is it childbirth trauma? Is it, do you know what I mean? Is it natural disaster trauma? Like, you have to specify what kind of trauma it is. But, let's say it's trauma. Maybe a message that you want to give to your trauma client, if you're thinking about them and you're thinking what they've been through, who they were before, who they are now, what's different about their life now as a result of that trauma, what they wish their life was like, what they're really, hopeful about. If they asked you if you had a magic wand, what would they want you to, make appear for them, those kinds of things. I could say something like, you have been through something huge and enormous that's created, something profound within you. And yes, it was horrible, and yes, it was scary, but you don't have to stay stuck there in that place. In fact, did you know that there are ways that you can use those experiences and leverage them to actually get more of the things that you want in your life, whether it's the better relationship, whether it's the better job, whether it's the better lifestyle, whether it's reevaluating, who you are and what you really want in life. But there are absolutely ways that you can do that. And when you're ready to explore that, I'm here for you. That might be something that you might say to your ideal client if that would make sense to them. If your ideal client is still raw in the trauma and is, paralyzed by fear and anxiety and can't get out of bed, can't go to work, you're going to say that. You're going to say, listen, it's totally understandable that you don't want to get out of bed and go to work today. You have been through something really horrific. But, you and I both know at some time, there comes a moment where you do need to get up and you do need to, have the shower, and you do need to have the glass of water, and you do need to go outside and, be under the clouds with your feet on the grass. And there is going to be a time where you're going to need to go back to work. That's real. That's reality. And so when you're ready to start thinking about that, which might not be for a while, that's okay. I'm here. And in the meantime, I've got a YouTube channel. You can go and watch some videos. I've got a podcast. You can go and listen to my podcast. I've got a workbook. You can download the workbook. Here you go. Here's the link. I'm not going to charge you. I just want to give it to you to help you. Right? So that's the message that you're going to give your clients. So it's about we talk about being authentic. We talk about being genuine. We talk about being real. This is what that looks like. It's not using therapist speak. Okay. And then the other thing is having that understanding of your client will then help you not only write the copy for your website, but it's also going to help you do things like you will just know the colors. And you will just know the logo. And it's probably not going to be a lotus flower, or it might not be that drop of water that's rippling in the pond. And it might not be the tree of life. It could be something else. It may be a shape. It may be, think about the feeling that you want your clients to have. Think about the experience that you want them to have. And maybe, an exercise I do with some of my clients is I say, if this feeling had a shape, what would the shape be? If it had a texture, what would the texture be? If it had a sound, what would it be? If it had a scent, what would it be? We use the 5 senses, and it's really interesting the shapes that people come up with. So you might even create something that you end up using as a logo. Or not, you might decide not to have a logo, and just perhaps your initials are your logo, or the initials of your business name are your logo, or your colors are your logo, like Cadbury chocolate is purple, that kind of thing. You can have your colors as your logo. So it doesn't really, you don't have to sit down and look at templates of other people's logos and try and create something from them for you. You will just be informed. And do you know what? In PP 101, there's also meditation that helps you receive your logo. So you don't even have to, you receive it from your subconscious mind using this meditation. So you can do that if you're in PP 101. Yeah. So it just, when you know your client and you know the message, all the writing for your website writes itself. The branding creates itself. The logo creates itself. The business name then creates itself. It's this beautiful domino effect. And that's what I mean by it gets to be easy in your business. It gets to be easy in your private practice, but you have to understand what the foundations are, what the starting points are. The problem so many people have is they miss those foundations and they jump to the midway point, which is, trying to come up with logos and business names out of thin air, based on things you like or you think your clients will like. It's all the wrong way around. And that's why it feels difficult. And that's why you feel like you're getting imposter syndrome or your imposter syndrome is deepening. But it can be avoided. And I just wanted to share that with you today because I think it's a really important message. And this is something that's relevant, not just for emerging private practice owners, but even for private practice owners that feel disconnected. Like if you have a look at your website and you think, oh, this isn't me at all. Or you look at what's written on it and you think, oh, it's really not me at all. Or you look at your logo and you think, yeah, I haven't changed my logo in the longest time and it just doesn't feel like me anymore. Then these are all signs from the universe, signs from source, signs from the divine, signs from Holy Spirit that it's time for you to allow yourself to attune to who you are now, attune to who your client is now, especially if you've been in private practice for a while, because you probably started over with one type of client and now you're over here and you're working with a different type of client, but none of your branding's changed, none of your website's changed, none of your colors have changed, your logo hasn't changed, your message hasn't changed. It's time to bring it all into alignment. Okay. And you get to do that, and you get to do it in a way that feels really easy and light and good for you, and you get to do it in flow. Okay, so please, if you're struggling with names and logos and all those kinds of things, just have a listen to what we've discussed today, and there isn't any rush. Okay, you're not going to miss out on a client because you don't have a logo or a business name today. So give yourself space. Maybe go and put space in your diary so nobody can book a inquiry call or a discovery call in that time. This is more important. This is so important because it's going to be what helps you to create a steady flow of inquiries for your private practice. Okay? So I hope that this was really, really helpful. If there's anything that you need with your private practice, do let me know. I'm bound to have something. I'm always creating things, as you know. And if not, I can pop it on my list of requests of things to create, and I can absolutely create that for you. So thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you so much for your time. I have to go and play with Buddy now because I've got a call in about 20 minutes. So I'm going to go and play with him and give him some lunch, and then I will talk to you in the next episode. Thanks so much for listening. Bye for now. I hope that you loved this episode as much as I loved putting it together for you. To get more resources to help you in your private practice, head over to Instagram. My handle is @theprivatepracticecoach. And also, if you want more inquiries and referrals for your business, let me know. I have a program called Clients on Demand that opens every quarter, and I can absolutely get you some information for that as well. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you for sharing your gifts with the world. Bye.